The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East has undergone a tectonic shift as Operation Epic Fury enters a decisive and arguably unprecedented phase, marking a departure from modern aerial warfare conventions. Imagine, if you will, a scenario that contradicts every tenet of 21st century stealth operations. A helicopter gunship, characterized by its loud, rhythmic thrum and a profile that is anything but low observable, glides through the skies over one of the most heavily defended nations on the planet. It hovers with a sense of predatory calm, locks onto its target with clinical precision, and unleashes a devastating volley of fire. This is not a simulated exercise conducted in the safety of a Nevada desert, nor is it a tabletop wargame played out by strategic theorists in Washington. This is the reality currently unfolding in the contested airspace of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The sight of AH-64 Apache helicopters and A-10 Thunderbolt II Warthogs operating with what military analysts are increasingly calling impunity signals that the conflict has entered a chapter the Iranian leadership likely deemed impossible. This development serves as the focal point of our deep dive analysis into Operation Epic Fury, as we examine the deployment of these low-flying, slow-moving platforms to the skies over Iran and the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. To grasp the gravity of this moment, one must first understand the military doctrine of air control, which exists on a sliding scale from air neutrality to air supremacy. In the initial stages of any high-intensity conflict against a near-peer adversary, the vanguard always consists of the most survivable and technologically advanced assets: the F-35 Lightning II, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, and the F-22 Raptor. These silver bullets are designed to kick down the door, neutralizing integrated air defense systems, IADS, while the enemy still possesses the teeth to fight back. Conversely, the arrival of the A-10 and the Apache typically signals the mopping up phase. These aircraft are loud, they are slow, and they fly at altitudes that make them bullet magnets in a contested environment. Their presence over Iranian territory suggests that the once formidable Iranian air defense network has been effectively gutted. This operational shift was punctuated on March 26, 2026, when Secretary of War Pete Hegseth delivered a briefing that resonated throughout the global defense community. Hegseth confirmed that Apache gunships were conducting strike missions inside Iranian airspace and across the Strait of Hormuz at will, a phrase that denotes a total lack of effective opposition. He further noted the free operation of the A-10 Thunderbolt II, adding the chillingly pragmatic observation that one only deploys such platforms when the enemy no longer possesses meaningful air defenses. For decades, Tehran invested billions of dollars and immense national prestige into building a multi-layered defense shield, anchored by Russian-made S-300 missile systems and the domestically produced Bavar 373 batteries. This system was meticulously designed to raise the cost of entry for the United States, theoretically forcing a reliance on expensive stealth platforms and making a full-scale air campaign politically and economically untenable. Those defensive layers have now been reduced to rubble. The path to this current state of Iranian vulnerability began long before the February 28, 2026 launch of Operation Epic Fury. The degradation of Iran's defensive capabilities can be traced back to June 2025 and Operation Midnight Hammer. That joint US-Israeli campaign was a surgical strike against Iran's nuclear infrastructure, targeting enrichment facilities at Fordow and Natanz, alongside the metallurgy complex at Isfahan. While Midnight Hammer succeeded in stalling Iran's nuclear clock, its most significant secondary effect was the creation of massive, unpatched holes in the national air defense grid. By December 2025, reports from outlets like Forbes were already highlighting critical gaps in Iran's ability to monitor and defend its borders against sophisticated aerial incursions. The late Iranian leadership's predicament was perhaps best captured by former President Hassan Rouhani, who admitted in a moment of stark honesty that the skies over Iran had become safe for the enemy, lamenting a total loss of regional deterrence. This admission was vindicated as Operation Epic Fury commenced. Within the first 24 hours of the campaign, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Samir reported that a staggering 80% of Iran's air defense systems had been either destroyed or rendered inoperable. This was not the result of a single lucky strike, but the culmination of years of intelligence gathering and the systematic exploitation of every technical and geographical vulnerability exposed during the 2025 operations. What remained after that first day was not a coherent network, but a collection of isolated, blind nodes. Soldiers with man-portable air defense systems, manpads, lone radar stations, and antiquated batteries lacking central integration. While dangerous to individual low-flying aircraft, these remnants were incapable of stopping a concerted, multi-platform onslaught. This environment provided the perfect stage for the A-10 Warthog. Originally built in the 1970s and officially designated the Thunderbolt II, the A-10 was designed for a singular, brutal purpose: to survive the carnage of a Cold War battlefield in Europe and destroy Soviet tank columns. Its design is a testament to ruggedness, featuring a titanium bathtub cockpit to shield the pilot and redundant flight systems that allow the aircraft to remain airborne even after losing an engine or significant portions of its tail. However, its most iconic feature is the GAU-8/A Avenger 30mm cannon. This 7-barreled rotary gun, capable of firing 3,900 rounds per minute of depleted uranium shells, can turn armored vehicles and fortified positions into scrap metal in a matter of seconds. In a standard high-threat environment, the A-10's low service ceiling of roughly 20,000 feet would make it easy prey for an S-300 system, which can engage targets at altitudes up to 100,000 feet. The fact that A-10s are now hunting Iranian fast-attack watercraft in the Strait of Hormuz is the ultimate proof that those S-300 batteries no longer function. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, confirmed these missions during a March 19th press conference, detailing how Warthogs are systematically clearing the southern flank of drone threats and maritime swarm tactics. The Strait of Hormuz has long been Iran's primary economic lever, a choke point through which 20% of the world's traded oil flows. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, IRGCN, has historically relied on swarms of small, highly maneuverable boats to harass commercial shipping and larger naval vessels. When Iran declared the strait closed, oil prices skyrocketed past $100 per barrel, threatening global economic stability. The A-10 has proven to be the perfect countermeasure to this mosquito fleet. Equipped with Mark 82 bombs, AGM-65 Maverick missiles, and laser-guided munitions, the Warthog can engage these boats from over 17 miles away, well outside the range of their onboard weaponry. Furthermore, the Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, APKWS, 2 rockets, and AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles allow the A-10 to act as an effective interceptor against Iranian drones. The sheer scale of the ongoing destruction is difficult to overstate. Secretary Hegseth has claimed that over 10,000 individual targets have been struck since the operation began, resulting in the elimination of 92% of Iran's large naval vessels and a 90% reduction in missile launches from the mainland. This success is not just about the number of bombs dropped. It is about the strategic focus on Iran's ability to replenish its arsenal. Strikes have leveled command and control centers and, perhaps most crucially, the missile production infrastructure at sites like Shahrud, Parchin, Kojir, and Hakemia. These facilities, responsible for the solid and liquid fuel that powers Iran's ballistic missile fleet, have sustained damage far exceeding the 2025 campaign. Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of CENTCOM, emphasized that the goal is the systemic dismantling of Iran's future production capacity, ensuring that the threat is not just paused, but ended for years to come. This blinding of the Iranian military was facilitated by a masterclass in electronic warfare. A-18G Growler aircraft, supported by space-based jamming assets, and the newly arrived A-37B Compass Call have worked in tandem to suppress radar and disrupt communications. This electronic shroud allowed non-stealth platforms to enter Iranian territory early in the conflict, catching air defense units off guard before they could even detect an incoming threat. Former CENTCOM commanders have been remarkably candid in their assessment of this reality. General David Petraeus recently noted that as long as aircraft stay above heavy machine gun range, they can operate with near total freedom, arguing that the US has achieved de facto air supremacy. General Frank McKenzie echoed this sentiment, stating that the neutralization of air defenses has allowed CENTCOM to shift its focus to hunting ballistic missiles across the Iranian interior. However, the achievement of air supremacy does not equate to zero risk. The events of early April 2026 have served as a sobering reminder of the cost of war. On April 3rd, the United States suffered its first fixed-wing combat losses in over 2 decades. A U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle was brought down over Iranian territory. While one crew member was recovered in a daring rescue, the second remains missing. Simultaneously, an A-10 Thunderbolt II crashed near the Strait of Hormuz. While the pilot was successfully rescued and some reports suggest the crash occurred during the rescue effort for the F-15E crew rather than due to a primary air defense system, the loss of 2 high-value platforms in 48 hours highlights the persistent danger posed by small arms fire and isolated manpads. These losses contribute to a growing casualty list that now includes 13 American service members killed and 365 wounded. The conflict currently sits at a knife edge. President Trump has issued a 48-hour ultimatum posted on Truth Social on April 4th, warning of all hell raining down if the Strait of Hormuz is not fully reopened. Iranian military officials have responded with defiance, dismissing the ultimatum as helpless and unbalanced. As the deadline looms, the economic pressure continues to mount globally. In Europe, nations like Germany and Italy are already debating windfall taxes on energy giants as the disruption of oil flow continues to strain their economies. There is also the burgeoning threat of a ground operation. Reports from Soft News suggest that the U.S. is considering a high-risk mission to secure or remove approximately 970 pounds of 60% enriched uranium stored in deep underground bunkers near Isfahan. Such an operation would require a sustained ground presence and the construction of temporary airfields, a massive escalation that would put thousands of American troops at risk. The arrival of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit in the region and the deployment of a second aircraft carrier strike group suggest that the military is preparing for exactly such a contingency. The A-10 Warthog, a plane the Air Force has tried to retire for years, has become the unlikely symbol of this new phase. Despite budget documents suggesting a total phase-out by 2027 due to its perceived vulnerability, its performance in Operation Epic Fury, hunting drones, shredding boat swarms, and striking missile fuel plants, has reignited the debate over its relevance. As retired Colonel Kim Campbell aptly noted, there is always a role for a dedicated ground support platform once the stealth phase ends. As of April 5, 2026, the skies over Iran belong to the coalition forces. The presence of the A-10 and the Apache is the ultimate psychological and tactical proof of that dominance. Whether this aerial supremacy leads to a diplomatic resolution or a grueling ground campaign remains to be seen. The coming 48 hours will likely determine if the Warthog and the Apache have finished their work, or if they are merely the opening act for a much larger, more dangerous confrontation. The story of the century is unfolding in the canyons and coastal plains of Iran, and the global order hangs in the balance as the ultimatum